Welcome back to the Vandy 24/7 podcast. And Vanderbilt has its point guard. Frankie Collins has committed to Vanderbilt. He told Vandy 24/7 today, and man, that's a nice gift for Vanderbilt in a lot of ways. And I think people are going to be maybe off-put a little bit by the shooting numbers, but Frankie Collins is what this team needed in a lot of ways, and going to break down the impact here. But first of all, you look at the ball handling ability, you look at the ability to kind of run the show, and I think Collins is everything Vanderbilt needed in that department after losing A.J. Hoggard. And Grant Huffman only played 9 games last season due to a foot injury that he actually suffered against Vanderbilt when he left the game, came back in the game against Vanderbilt, and then was declared out for the season the next day. So that's something to note, but I'm told Collins is healthy. He's back on the court as of a couple days ago, and I think Vanderbilt feels good about where the health is at this point. So that's a notable thing here in the mix of all this. But I think Collins, again, a veteran guard who knows how to run the show. Before going down at TCU, had a career high in assists per game and a career low in turnovers per game. So both of those positive indicators that he's learning a little bit how to take care of the ball and doing those things as a veteran, which I think are pretty valuable for this Vanderbilt team, especially since at the moment its only point guard was Tyler Tanner before this, and I still expect Tanner to be a big part of what they do. I know the Vanderbilt staff still very high on Tyler Tanner. He's changed his shot mechanics a little bit. He's become a better player. He's looking to put on some weight this offseason, which is what he told Billy yesterday. So noting that, you're looking at Frankie Collins and saying, even if Tyler Tanner improves, I'm going to guess Frankie Collins is going to be the primary ball handler, the primary initiator on offense. And I think that's a good role for him. That's a guy who can really get downhill. He can really score it. You kind of get flashbacks of A.J. Hoggard here, but I think Collins is a better shooter, or maybe not a better shooter, but a better finisher around the rim than Hoggard is. I think he has a little more touch around the basket. Hoggard historically has been a better shooter than Collins from three-point range, but everywhere else I think Collins is probably more effective, especially off the bounce. And I also think in a way he's a better system fit here. I think the transition numbers are positive indicators to you that he could do something within Mark Byington's scheme. And I think another thing too, they don't expect him to be the guy, and I think that's a big deal as well. They have Tyler Nichols still, they have Devin McLaughlin still, Jalen Washington will give them some scoring as well. I think TCU in a lot of ways was expecting him to be the guy and to completely run the show for them. That's not what he's going to have to do at Vanderbilt, and I think that's a real asset to Vanderbilt, that it's able to kind of use him in a way that he's not having to be the primary scorer on most nights. I still think they're looking for scoring guards. Hunter Huff, obviously, a guy that you bring up in that way, but I think Collins is going to be able, for the first time in his career, to really focus on what he's good at, which is being a disruptive on-ball defender, and he's going to be able to initiate offense through the pick and roll and lead Vanderbilt in transition. All of those things I think are really valuable assets of Frankie Collins' game, and I think Vanderbilt is really going to benefit from all that. I think you're finally seeing Mark Byington being able to recruit the type of guys he wants, seeing guys that are good fits within Vanderbilt's system that he's being able to bring in and kind of mesh together. And Collins obviously isn't a perfect player. I don't think he would be at Vanderbilt if he was. He obviously has some shooting deficiencies, and he's an old guard that hasn't made an all-league team yet, I don't think. So that tells you that he's not a superstar and he's not going to completely change the outlook of this team. But they needed a point guard, and I think in a lot of ways he is as true of a point guard as they could have gotten on the market, especially for the price point they were looking at. And there's a bonus here that he's healthy too, which I don't think was necessarily a given when they first started talking to him in the portal. They feel really good about where that's at from what I can tell. But just looking at his overall game, I'm going to pull up some numbers that I've had written down. He's played over 100 college basketball games. He started 76. He was a double figure in 2 of his 5 college seasons and scored 9.7 points per night the other night. A lot of his field goals come from mid-range jumpers, from getting to the rim, and I don't think shot selection is an issue here, and I also don't think him being overly assertive is an issue here. I don't think it's going to be guys are going to have to fight for shots alongside him. I think his jumper is not reliable, and I don't know that he's going to really push the agenda with trying to be the primary option here. I think he's coming in kind of knowing the role that he has is different than maybe what he's had in the past, and he's not going to have to force the issue as much. He's going to be able to, again, focus on what he's good at, and I think his shooting capabilities are going to be a bit overstated here just because of what Vanderbilt experienced last year with his point guard play, which didn't allow much spacing. I think so far the way this roster is built, they're going to be a better shooting team, and maybe Collins doesn't necessarily help with that, but I think he's part of the reason that they could be a better shooting team, not because of his shooting, but because of how he's able to initiate offense throughout the rest of the roster. Obviously, his passing, 4.4 assists per game, high assist rate, highest assist total of his career last year, and obviously a 70th percentile transition player, fits within what Mark Byington wants to do. So I really think Vanderbilt has got something here with Frankie Collins, and I think he is not only a name that's noteworthy, but also a name that kind of makes a splash a little bit. People know the name Frankie Collins. They saw what he did against Vanderbilt this year. They saw he was a primary option on a decent TCU team. They saw he was a big option on an Arizona State team a few years ago that was a really talented group. They saw that he was with Michigan his freshman year. I think Vanderbilt is still kind of trying to build out the rest of its roster, but this helps. You have a point guard and you have a big man now, and both of them, I think, make each other better in a lot of ways. I think Jalen Washington can help Frankie Collins by protecting the rim and allowing him to be a little bit more aggressive defensively, which I think he's at his best when he can guard aggressively out on the perimeter. And also, I think Frankie Collins benefits because now he has a pick and roll threat. Or I think Jalen Washington benefits now that Frankie Collins is here and can kind of initiate the pick and roll. I still think they might need one more ball handler to kind of complement everything, and maybe that's Nick Lewis, the 4-star freshman that they're recruiting. But man, I think this is a good get for Vanderbilt. I don't think it's a earth-shattering addition for them, but I also think that Frankie Collins is really valuable in the ways that everyone has seen that he can contribute before. He's experienced. He's played a ton of college basketball. He's not been incredibly efficient as a shooter, but I think all things considered here, that's okay, because I don't think he's going to have to shoot a ton of open threes or contested threes even. I think he's going to be able to work in the ball screen. I think he's going to be able to get downhill, and I think he's going to be able to really focus on being a true point guard within the system, and I think he's going to really be able to focus on being that primary on-ball defender, the head of the snake, and I think he's probably a better defender than any of Vanderbilt's guards last year, except for maybe Grant Huffman. So I look at him as a real addition to this team, and I know there's going to be skepticism because of the shooting, but I think he's a better finisher, and I think he's just a better maybe fit than what AJ Hoggard was here. I think he is more fit to be a transition guy than Hoggard was, and I think that's a really nice addition for Vanderbilt. So thank you guys for watching. God bless, and we'll talk soon.